Karen,
Yes.
what if I told you that there was a bubble around our house that lifted the level of consciousness for everyone that walked into it?
That sounds wonderful.
Doesn't it? Now, what if I told you that this same bubble helped eliminate harmful EMF frequencies in the environment while inside our house?
Well, that sounds fantastic.
Okay, well then let's take it a step further.
Ooh.
What if that same bubble could be placed around someone's mobile phone, allowing them to carry this wonderful bubble of enhanced consciousness with them anywhere they went?
And protect them from the EMT?
And protect them from the EMF.
Or EMF. I don't know where T came from. But maybe them too. No, that sounds fantastic.
All right. Well, this bubble, Karen, not only does it exist, but it's been around us for some time right now. But what is it exactly? How does it work? How did it get there? And what have we been feeling since it arrived? These are just a few of the questions we're going to answer on this episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. So whether you're a skeptic or a seasoned metaphysician, join us as we explore the fascinating world of focused life force energy, where the pursuit of consciousness elevation is at the core.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey there, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And today's interview is one I have been anticipating for quite a while. We welcome skeptics and seekers of the metaphysical alike. Today, we've got two extraordinary guests on the Skeptic Metaphysicians podcast, Jeffrey Stegman and Clayten Stedmann. That's going to be interesting to say. The brilliant minds behind Focused Life Force Energy, or FLFE. Now, these pioneers have spent over a decade delving into the realms of high consciousness fields, drawing inspiration from Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness. Now, I know the term life force energy might raise an eyebrow or two, but bear with us because Jeff and Clayten have developed a free energy type machine, for lack of a better word, that's capable of directing this universal energy, whether you call it chi, prana, ether, or something else, through quantum association for the greater good. We are thrilled to have Jeffrey and Clayten with us today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Great to be here.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Karen.
So obviously the elephant in the room. So you, this is you. So many. Like, where
You're
do I?
speechless.
I am.
I don't even know where to start. Well, this is something we've never heard about before.
Yeah,
And it's incredible.
it is incredible. And like I mentioned, we it's been around our house for a while, and recently took it further into our mobile phones, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first and foremost, can you explain for those of us listening who may not be as aware of FLFE, what exactly are we talking about here?
Well, FLFE activates a consciousness field. It's very similar in the way that we can do it. You know, any person, when they think of someone, like say your grandma's sick, and you're sending her prayers for health and getting better. When you think of grandma, we believe a field is activated around her, a consciousness field. And now there's this connection between you. She may even think of you. You know, maybe you're going to call her and she thinks of you and then you call. We all experience that.
Mhm.
That's that quantum association or connection that's happening between the two of you. And then you're sending her love or sending her wishes for health. And it's in her field and it helps her. And there's research showing that those kind of connections with, prayer for healing and Reiki and can have a positive effect on people. And FLFE works in very much the same way.
And it can affect them even if they don't know you're sending out this energy and love to them.
Just like prayers do. Yeah.
That sounds amazing, but I don't think that you and Clayten sit around all day long thinking about all the people that have subscribed to the FLFE. So how do you get so many people to raise their consciousness, especially the fact that you're putting this around a certain address, that whenever someone walks into that address, you feel this enhanced conscious level. Talk to us about this machine.
Well, I'll talk to you about the evolution of the technology. I came across the technology in 2007, or at least a variation of it. It's changed a lot since then, and we've added other sort of technologies to the original one. Jeff and I are kind of car guys. So if you imagine the old Model T, and then you have a new Tesla. It's kind of like that's we took it from a Model T to a Tesla.
Mm.
So I came across a couple of inventors who were working on a free energy device. They wanted to create something for humanity that was easy to manufacture, and they could get out there really, really quickly. And one of them was an engineer, a tool and die maker, an electrician. He was quite a versatile gentleman. He was retired, and he just wanted to do something for the world. And they'd been working on it for 7 years by the time I met them. There was only the retired man left because everybody else was broke, and they had to stop doing that and go make a living. They hadn't created a free energy device in the way that they wanted to, that you could plug an appliance in. And they stumbled across a way to focus life force energy, chi, prana, ether, whatever you want to call it, on a small location in this big machine. And so what happened is that this gentleman would take a piece of crystal and he would put it in that output area, if you will. That's what you called it, the output stack. And it would charge up the crystal. It would really raise its vibration. He would put these all around the house. When he walked into his house, the hair on your arm would stand up. It just vibrated so high. And,
Wow.
He would charge these up and take them to the restaurant down the street, and they're like, the restaurant really liked the vibe in there. So they would, I think he had a French fry deal, Jeff, but you get French fries for consciousness. So.
Sounds like a good deal to me.
Bring in the field, you get French fries. That's
Bring in the
great.
field, you get French fries,
The perk.
Oh, I didn't realize. I don't think I got my French fries.
We might want to do some trading. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it all started. I think they were guided by the divine because their intent was so pure. And they really just wanted to help. And they worked at it for a long time, and they had a lot of technology there. This guy spent everything he made on the machine, if you will. Yeah, I'm grateful to this day for his loving intent and the hard work and the technical skill that he devoted to it.
And you are extending that with your FLFE efforts. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, because it's astounding how you're contributing to the world with what you're doing. But here's where I'm having the biggest disconnect. How can a machine, is it like a laser, like satellite that then beams this energy onto your address, or like how? Now you can even carry it on your cell phone, right? You put it on your cell phone, you walk around anywhere that comes in within I believe there's a 30-foot bubble, 9-foot bubble. I know there's a big difference, but there's a different,
There's the 300-foot bubble around the phone, but the 9-foot radius bubble is kind of the highest consciousness, the most support. It might help to tell you what it was like to look at this system, right? This original system, which we now have distilled and simplified as much technology has simplified. It was a Nikola Tesla type setup. There was high-speed alternating current running through stacks of plates and coils in different geometries. And so this filled this house. And these stacks were all input stacks. So they were bringing energy in through the adjustment of the oscillation of the power, and the voltage. And there was one output stack, like Clayten said. And then under that output stack was this highly concentrated chi, prana, life force energy at a very high consciousness level. And what we discovered is that in that field at the bottom of that output stack could create the quantum association that we talked about humans doing.
Mhm.
So into that field goes a unique identifier. So it could be an address, coordinates, for a property, or a cell phone number in a certain jurisdiction. There's only one cellular device with that phone number. So that unique identifier is like thinking of grandma. You're holding grandma in your mind, what she looks like, what she feels like. So that unique identifier is the core of this connection that creates this moving bubble around the phone and also around the property. So we're putting into that field a unique identifier for all these properties. And originally we took a piece of paper and printed the address and there were instructions. So there's instructions that go into that field, and we put it into the field, the service would go on. And when the customer left for some reason, then we'd have to find it and pull it out. Obviously not very scalable, but that might give you a sense of, how this works. There's a written piece of paper that has these unique identifiers in it and the instructions for the field. And the way the system was developed, it just is able to make that connection, that quantum connection, like we do with grandma.
Oh, no, I can't stop thinking about grandma.
I know. I've got so many questions. I don't know which one to ask first. Okay. So we were talking about the device, and you said that it was like at the bottom, underneath it all was this concentrated chi or this energy. How did you get that energy there? Like, where does that energy come from?
I'm so proud of you. That's such a will question. That's perfect.
I'm going to tell you what I think, because I wasn't there when it was invented, but, and I could tell you an interesting story afterwards about how he discovered that you could do quantum association there, because he didn't know that at the time when I met him. So I'm going to say divine intervention. So how do things get invented? You hear all these stories about inventors.
Mhm.
They have this and they have something in mind they want to create. And maybe some of them are selfish. I don't know. But these guys, this one gentleman, his intent was pure. And he was so devoted to help humanity. I think the divine helped him invent something that has never been invented before or since that I've seen. That's the short story. He also had a 2-car garage full of milling machines. He used to buy old electronic equipment that was broken, fix it up and resell it. This guy was kind of a genius. And he had milling machines and casting machines, and he had a parts shop in his garage. It was like floor to ceiling full of parts. So it was like a lot of work and a little bit of help from the divine. And he invented some stuff that just hasn't been invented before. It just showed up there.
Yeah, I think it takes a whole lot of faith, right? There's a big leap of faith that this stuff is there. So I think for me, it's really hard for me to wrap my head around, because I need to feel it, touch it, taste it, right? To Karen's point in a question, it's hard to just take that leap of faith. So we actually did your trial, and we put the field around our house, and now we've got the field around our cell phone, or my cell phone, for example. And I guess really someone like me who is not skeptical but pragmatic, who has a hard time connecting the dots, doing this, which is anyone can go and actually do a free trial. It's 15-day trial with you all to feel the field for themselves. I mean, that's really the proof in the pudding, right? And we'll talk about what we each felt as we move forward, but it's fascinating because the quantum field, it opens every possibility. And we talked about, Karen, the harmonic egg does the same thing with distance healing, Reiki energy. Jeffrey, you mentioned that. So it's the same principle, but it's still so darn hard to wrap your head around it when you're thinking pragmatically.
Yeah.
And this, to me, is a little bit different than things we've talked about in the past, because I think in the past we've discussed energy kind of attaching or working with a person, but this sounds more like it's working with a location or with an object. So if people coming into the house feel it leaving the house. I would imagine when you move, it, I guess, stays with the house, and you have to redo the system at your next location, next home.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a customer portal where you can change addresses.
Oh,
And some people do it every day. They go to work and they change the address.
Why did I not think of that? Oh,
Hotel
you
room.
can take it with you.
Yeah. I mean, you could take it with you. We do it in hotel rooms, because if you think about a hotel room, there's been a lot of people there, a lot of different energies. And we believe that consciousness stays in the crystalline structure of the concrete floor and the drywall, concrete block, that there's consciousness fields everywhere. As we walk around the world, we're walking into high ones and low ones. And you just think of a hotel room, it's like over and over and over, lots, just could be hundreds, even thousands of people. So activating the service there, you can help clean that up. And I find I get a much better night's sleep.
You should try
and
that. Well,
less negative thoughts, because they could be a negative field with people had a fight, or, something bad happened. Those negative thoughts can be in a negative field, and you can think they're your thoughts, but they're really not. They're in the environment. So that's why this is really an environmental support rather than an individual.
And so, Will, I know you kind of activated this without telling me, but was it still active yesterday? Like, was it?
It's it's around my mobile phone.
So it's just around you. Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, we did the house. We did the house first, and it was when I mentioned at the beginning of the show that this has been a long time coming. I activated it in anticipation of our interview with Jeffrey and Clayten, and then we had to unfortunately push it off.
Oh, gotcha.
So it was a 15-day trial, and I didn't want to just dive into it without talking to them first. So the next step, and I waited until we knew we were going to get Jeffrey and Clayten on the show. to activate the cell phone so that we can still feel the effects of it walking around. It's a 300-foot radius. So you're in it, Karen, all the time. We are together all the time. My cell phone is always on me.
Well, yeah, yesterday we weren't, though.
It's a fair
Yesterday
point.
was
Good question. How did you feel yesterday?
Well, that's what I was saying. No, yesterday I felt great.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I'm sorry. But that's why I was like, oh, maybe that's why. But anyways.
We should get yours on as well.
Definitely going to do that.
You know, Dr. Gary Schwartz at the University of Arizona is our senior researcher now. And one of the things he's taught us is in these frontier science, you know, areas like FLFE is, and he studied Reiki and he studied mediums who read, you know, people after they pass over, that the first thing you look for is something happening? You know, understanding quantum association. I think anyone that says they understand it, it's probably mistaken.
Definitely mistaken.
And it's just so out of our 3D reality. It's really hard to wrap, like you said, wrap our minds around. But the way he goes at it and the way we've done it in our research is something happening. And then from there, you can start to dive into, okay, at what level is something happening, and, you know, get to causes. But we have quite a few, you know, serious research projects on our website in the research tab that, you know, you might find interesting.
I dove headfirst into the research, and we'll talk about it a little bit. But let's talk about the levels of consciousness, right? This is based on the Hawkins map of consciousness. So when you activate the FLFE in an address, for example, or a mobile phone, to what level of consciousness based on Hawkins maps do you bring it to?
Well, we guarantee that the environment in your home will be at the level of consciousness set on the slider, because we have a consciousness slider in your control panel you can move up and down. We guarantee that it'll be at that level 98% of the time or more over a 24-hour period, or you get it for free. So we test every day that when a new service goes on, and the level that's defaulted is the level of unconditional love, which is 550 on the Hawkins map of consciousness. And you can slide it up to 570. And if it's a little too intense, you can slide it down to as low as 400. We might even go lower than that, because sometimes there's an adaptation period when people are just getting used to that level of consciousness in the environment. They might be much higher personally, but they might have had a geopathic stress zone or something in their home or in their property, and then that would correct possibly the geopathic stress zone. And so people adapt to conditions, right? We're very adaptable humans. And so if that condition's no longer there and all of a sudden there's a lot more energy, it can be sort of unsettling for a little while.
And what kind of things would you feel when you are raised up? I know that I think the level of consciousness between 700 and 1,000 is enlightenment, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
But if you raise it to like 600, you're really close. So what kind of things can someone expect to feel?
Well, first of all, it's not a limitation. It's just like a trampoline. It's like, the environment won't go any lower. And it doesn't interfere with your free will. If you want to be disagreeable, miserable, angry, and contrary, you can still do that. You just have to work harder at it. You still do it though.
No wonder, man. I've been so tired lately.
That kind of leads me to a question. Can it affect you physically? Because, and I don't know. See, Will does this stuff and he doesn't tell me. So I don't know when it was activated and when it wasn't. So I'm trying to think, did I feel different at certain times? But there was a couple weeks ago where, our daughter got sick and she was sick for about 10 days and Will got sick. And I'm like, I'm not getting sick, and I'm pushing through because I had to take care of everybody. And I wasn't sick. And then all of a sudden, like after they were better, I was sick. Mm-hmm. Just like all of a sudden. So I'm like wondering, was it on and then it turned off? Like, can it help your energy to keep you healthy physically, or is that just mom power?
Well, mom power is more powerful than anything else in the universe. So we can just straighten that out right now. In a high consciousness field, there's just more energy for the body. So there's more life force for the immune system, for the brain. So people tend to experience more mental capacity, more ability to just do something. It takes a lot of concentration for a long period of time, like homework for kids. We find that kids kind of sail through their homework more easily. So there's just more there. And the body, if you follow Chinese medicine, or if you've ever gotten acupuncture, it's freeing up the flow of qi, to those parts. And there's just lots more qi. And
Mm.
so the body is using it. So people, their immune system may be enhanced, but they could be rising in consciousness, which to us is increasing freedom. So, because we all have lots of little programs going and lots of little
Mm.
voices at different ages,
Mhm.
different emotional levels, and that can be tiring and it can pull us lots of different directions. I say I want to go this way, but something else is pulling me that way. So as those things are in a loving, unconditional love field, they start to rise and they start to come up, maybe to be seen. So some of that may start to rear its head, but then to be integrated. The average person goes up 30 points on the Hawkins map in 90 days.
Oh boy.
And that's big.
Yeah.
How do you measure that?
So kinesiology, so Clayten has cracked Dr. Hawkins, kinesiology measures, and I'll let him tell you how many calibrations I lose track. But it's physical as well, because as we change, as we upgrade, and we let go of patterns and habits that we used to have, there is a physical or biochemical process as well. Neurons are reorganizing. We may be building our capacity to hold the energy in our myelin sheath and analog nervous system. So that takes more water. So one of the things that happens
Mm.
is people feel a little dehydrated, or they
Mm.
feel thirstier, so they drink more water.
Mm.
And we encourage more hydration, especially in those beginning few weeks.
Yeah. So here comes my question that I've been holding back because I'm glad that you brought up the water intake. Can this be the cause of migraines? I ask because since I've turned on the field on my mobile phone, I have had a migraine every day except for one.
Hmm.
The problem is I don't drink water.
Hmm.
I am notoriously
He's a
dehydrated.
camel.
And I have arthritis in the back of my neck, which then triggers migraines when I become more dehydrated. So
Hmm.
could that be like, does it affect someone that much where it could trigger migraines based on the fact that you're not having enough water?
Well, if you're dehydrated, the service starts to act like a dimmer switch because we don't want to throw people into a Herkimer response or a healing crisis. So some of the programs will turn down around that person. We can program it that way. So you probably wouldn't be feeling the full effect. So the high consciousness field wouldn't per se cause the migraine, but the body requires more water or more hydrating fluid to adapt and upgrade due to the positive influence that it's now receiving. And you don't do that, then as a result of that, your body will, go into its story, if it's migraines or arthritis or, whatever it is. And we all have our little things.
Got it. So then the reason for my feeling just slight effects is not because I'm some dumb dude who can't feel energy, but rather because I didn't drink enough water. Now I get it.
Possibly.
You did this to yourself.
Possibly. Well, why don't I give you a hydration hack right now? So what we found out is that if you buy aloe vera juice, and you mix it with your water, and like water doesn't taste good to a lot of us. It's just like we get tired drinking it, right? So if we take aloe vera and maybe it's got a little bit of flavoring in it or a little bit of sugar, of course. And if we mix it with the water, aloe vera seems to super hydrate our body really quick. So you can go like I have a water bottle around me a lot of times now because I just need to drink a lot of water on the service. And if I'm starting to feel dehydrated, I put some, I don't put it in the bottle because the aloe vera makes me have to clean my water bottle all the time, right? Because it's got aloe vera in it. But I have a cup of aloe vera and I take a little sip of aloe vera and a sip of water, and I can really get my hydration up. It's almost like 4x level. It'll bring it up really fast, but then I do have to drink water to keep it there, but it really kind of gets me there fast. And that helps because, like if you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. And once you're hydrated, you seem to want to drink more water. It's a bit of a paradox, right?
And then the inverse, you tend to want to go to the restroom more often, which is a challenge for people my age. But
And I think the aloe helps with that because you've got a lot of minerals and amino acids and other things in there. So it's adding what the water needs. So your mineral water balance stays good in the body, so you don't have to just immediately get it out of the body.
that is such a great hack,
Writing it
Clayton.
down right
Thank
now.
you so much. Yeah, but it's going on our shopping list immediately. Thank you for that. We are way, way past the time to take a break. So we're going to take a break really quickly. But when we come back, we're going to talk about what we felt, what Karen and I felt, specifically what I felt, because I was not fair. I didn't tell Karen. I was wanting to say, because she's so sensitive, I didn't want her to hog the whole conversation. But we're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about not just the good that you're doing with this company, but also we're going to let the folks listening or watching feel the effects themselves. We're going to ask you to activate the field around the show. So give us a minute. We'll be right back after this. And you don't want to miss what's coming next. Welcome back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. We are talking focused life force energy. And oh my God, I can guarantee you right now, I'm telling you, this is not going to be the last conversation, because we're barely just scratched the surface. We've not dove into anything because I need it explained to me like a 3-year-old. So I apologize for that, first of all. But second of all, I'm excited because we are now going to allow the folks listening or watching to feel the effects of the focused life force energy. So you mentioned before we started recording that you can activate the field around us now so that when people are listening, they'll be able to feel it. So first of all, is this true? Second of all, can you activate it so we can all feel it?
Yeah. Do you want to activate it, Clayton, while I talk about it?
Okay.
So this is a use of unique identifier. So in this case, we're identifying everyone listening to this program. Anytime in the future, a field is activated. So that field will be, I believe, 700 on the Hawkins map, Clayton.
Wow.
So that's a bit higher. We do have a boost. We have boosts that are at 600 and 850 for the service in the customer portal. So this is just a higher consciousness level. It's pretty unusual in the world. You would have to go to some pretty rare pilgrimage spots to find it. And it seems to have the effect of just up-leveling everything. Maybe we could take a moment, whatever you guys think, to let people feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's just my mind or what it is, but I'm thinking I'm feeling it. Maybe because I'm just drinking water right now. But Karen, you're a lot more sensitive than me. Do you feel
I
anything?
feel something.
What do
But I don't know. It's like, am I just imagining that I'm feeling something?
I know, that's what I'm thinking too. Is it just my mind? Is it just my imagination? But it wasn't immediate. It wasn't like a light switch. It kind of built.
Ooh, I'm feeling it now.
Yeah.
So what are you feeling, Karen?
Mhm.
Oh, just like it's just like tingly, just like, I don't know. It's like open. It's hard to describe. I hope that's what I'm feeling. I hope it's the right thing. No, just like this, it's just like my head feels open. I don't know, that's hard to explain. Is that wrong?
Well, nothing's wrong, of course. I feel it that way. I feel it through my central core. I feel like a tingling and like an uplifted feeling, like I'm going to bounce off the ceiling.
See, I'm feeling like I'm going to cry.
Mm.
That's weird. But like light, almost like hollow, like I'm feeling like I'm stretching the bounds of my body. Does that make sense? It sounds weird coming out of my mouth. It just feels like the body's lighter. I'm pressing at the boundaries. I'm going beyond it almost. It just feels like I'm feeling super emotional, which is not like me. So
Yeah, you're probably experiencing a heart chakra opening, Will. And I think Karen,
Yeah.
Karen is experiencing probably a pineal gland activation. That's my assumption.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. This is amazing. Listener, watcher, I'm talking to you specifically. I would love to please go to skepticmetaphysician.com, send us a voicemail. Let us know if you felt it, at which point in the video or in the audio you felt it, or send us an email. Get in touch with us, because I'm really curious to see how it translates outside of this immediate bubble that we're in here, especially if you're listening to it a little bit later on, because what fascinates me is what you said, Jeffrey, about the fact that at any time when someone listens to this, the field will activate at the point of the moment that they're listening. So this quantum stuff, so trippy. It's so trippy, but so cool at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal.
Karen?
When I was working with the machine a lot, I mean, I would put my hand in the output stack and then see what would happen to me. We do all these experiments. And
on purpose? You weren't afraid it wasn't going to bite you back or something? I don't know. If you're talking Tesla, I feel like there'd be like electricity there that might.
well, we have enough experience putting crystals in and taking them out, right? So we figured a few seconds would be okay. So it's like 2 seconds, and then you kind of sit with it for a few minutes, like we are, and then 4 seconds, and then 6 seconds, and then 8 seconds. And this guy's been working with the technology for years, so he was, he'd done it a lot. So I was just experimenting slowly. And I'd seen how the machine was made, and I helped him make some parts. I helped him make a lot of upgrades because I was really sick, and he was helping me a lot. We spent a lot of time together. It's like there's this one thing that he made that I haven't seen anywhere else. It's like, but how does that thing create that result? And I've seen him make it. I've seen it all, and I still am kind of like, wow, how does that work? It's just, I don't know. It's just how it is.
How does that work? That is the question of the day.
Yeah, how does that work?
So again, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but I definitely feel, even if it's in my mind, it's a really wonderful feeling. So whatever, I'll take it all day long. Well, to your point, you said the boost. When we put the field around our house, the thing that I felt the most was in meditations. I meditate every day. And there was a time where I was having a really difficult time getting to level. But when I initiated the field in the house, those times, and I would meditate, those times I would drop down immediately and get a really deep meditation. That's really how I felt it in the time. I'm feeling it differently this time around. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's the only way to explain it.
There's something about a high consciousness field that thins the veil in some ways. So some people feel like they can connect in the ways they normally connect kind of better or more easily. And the mind seems to quiet as well. So, whatever mind chatter level of consciousness is, probably depends what you're thinking about. But that in a higher loving environment, like the 550, the mind seems to quiet, and even more at 700. And I think if we went to 850, which is our other boost, we probably would be more quiet than we would be talking. We might just be sitting, looking at each other.
And I know that your boost is only for a certain amount of time. I think it was 2 minutes or something like that. Is there any danger about with staying at this level of consciousness for an extended period of time?
Yeah, our research indicates that like 700, which is the boost we have on now, is the most that we can share with the public on an ongoing basis. So there is, it's not so much a danger, but the mission of the company is to support the evolution of consciousness in an economized society. So that's where we all have to go to work. We have to, pay our mortgage, pay our rent, whatever. We got to feed ourselves. We have to create some value in the world and receive the benefits from the world. Jeff and I have talked about one day maybe having a program for monks in a cave, who have somebody taking care of them. And all I have to do is just meditate if you will, or just focus on their consciousness. They don't really have to function that high. So unconditional love was the range that we determined was in the highest and best interest of all creation for us to support people with. And that's sort of in line with the stewardship of the technology, is to try to really keep focused on what's in the highest and best interest of all creation instead of what we think. Now, we're people that want the best for others, and most people do want the best for others. And there is a little different level of awareness you have to have when you have this much power. You really have to spend a lot of time praying about what's in the best, and that we use a lot of kinesiology to test that. So that's just a little dip into our philosophy of why that number and why that range and why the mission.
And it sounds like it's a good starting point, because unconditional love is a feeling that people aspire to. But I think if you get beyond that too fast, too soon, it would just blow their minds. They wouldn't be able to handle it.
And there seems to be a nervous system acclimation as well that, from what we understand, you have your digital nervous system, your synapses firing, and then you have your analog nervous system, which is the myelin sheath and the connective tissue that runs throughout your bodies. And so there's energy running through that all the time. It's how the chi moves around. That when you have a lot more chi and you have a lot higher consciousness level, more energy, the nervous system needs to adapt to that and maybe perhaps get bigger or thicker, or however, whatever it does to be able to carry more energy, like a bigger wire carries more, more electrical energy.
What drew you to this? What made you find this machine and think we can make it better?
Well, I was in the inventor's house one day. I'll talk about this story that I thought I should tell earlier. So he had a piece of marble from a broken tabletop in the output stack in the high consciousness field, and he pulled it out of the machine. And the phone rang. And so he was holding this marble in his hand. And then when the phone call was over, he realized the arthritis was gone in his right hand. He wasn't in pain anymore. See? So he picked up the marble with his other hand, held on for 10 minutes, and arthritis was gone. So then he's like, wow, this is interesting. I wonder if it's healed. So he didn't hold any of the pieces of marble for a while. And in about 2 weeks, it started to come back a little bit. So he started charging up this old broken marble tabletop that he got from a recycling depot and started sending it all over the world to people that had arthritis. And they would use it for a while and they would send it back. And then it was like, it's getting expensive, all these shipping fees, like courier fees. Marble's not cheap. They're all over the world. They were paying for it.
Or light.
So he is, we don't make health claims. So that's what was happening. And when we were sitting down and we were thinking, oh God, it sure would be nice not to have to ship all this marble all over the world to help these people. Then the output stack's really high, right? So one guy took a bottle of water and put it on the marble, and he charged up the water, and then he sprayed the water on his arms and everything, so that he wouldn't have to carry the marble around all day because he wouldn't carry the marble. So some people came up with some creative stuff. So one day we were sitting down just praying. It's like, oh, is there some way we can do this, Lord? Please help us. We'd like to, be able to be of more service to more people. And I had the thought, take a picture of the piece of marble that the person has over in Europe, and it will associate with that piece of marble and charge it up remotely. That's how we figured out that the machine could do quantum association. Now, I'm not trying to take credit for it. I didn't build the machine, but that's the thought that we had as a result of that experience. And that's just how it happened. It's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little like magic thoughts. Where did that come from?
Yeah, usually how it works, right? That's divine intervention is what you mentioned earlier. Hundreds of tiny miracles have to happen for any kind of progress to move forward. So I think this is a great time to then touch on the good that you're doing with this company.
So we have the FLFE system, and it has a certain capacity, very large capacity. To millions of homes could be on it. And more than 90% of that energy is used for service projects that we don't get paid for. These are kind of under the radar service projects. There might be, something that happened, some major storm or some war zone or some historical place that we become aware of, like we did a project on the concentration camps in Poland and Germany to create a positive consciousness field there and help to heal the land and heal the consciousness fields that were there that were very low. So that's the kind of projects that we do. And so we spend, more than 90% of the energy of the system doing those.
So this is really a spiritual practice. I mean, you are helping to not just raise the consciousness of the world, but you're doing things as a service to the world where they need it the most, whether or not they even know about you. That's astounding. Let me take a moment because I gotta say one of the downsides of activating the field at 700 at this particular point in time is that all I want to do is just sit here and enjoy the feeling. I don't. It's making it really difficult to think about anything else right now. So this trial is open to anyone. Anyone can go to your website and you can activate either your residence field or the mobile or cellular phone field. And they can try for 15 days. And then after that, then they can feel free to subscribe at that point. What's the best way for someone to take advantage of this?
And there's no credit card as well. So that we felt strongly that no credit card, no automatic billing, no accidental billing.
I love that.
So it's 15 days of each. So you can do the home and you can do the phone for 15 days. And we've just recently changed it so you can do both at the same time if you wished. It's a gift. We designed the 2 weeks as a length of time where something could really happen that's positive for the person. And for the home, it's clearing the negative history, the negative energy that's historical, that, like we talked about in a hotel room, that's accumulated over, millennia on the land where your house is now located, that may be affecting you. So that free trial on a home does that clearing, and that's a gift, that goes on.
Is there any way that people should prepare themselves if they're going to activate this? Do they need to, clear their minds? Is there anything that they need to do, or can they just turn it on?
There's an email that goes out when you come on the service, and there's dozens of ways to help you recognize the service in your environment. So some people's gift to the world is that they're thick-skinned, and they're typically the pioneering, persistent types, and that's their gift. Some are very sensitive. And sometimes people notice it more in their pets and they'll notice it in themselves right away, or their plants, or there's a lot of wildlife that comes to the house, or their friends come over and they kind of don't want to leave. They just hang out, because they really like it there. And it's not that they wouldn't like it before, but there's just more of that. So there's a couple dozen of those things that I can't think of them all right now, but
So basically, if you don't want people at your house, don't activate this.
turn it off before they come over.
And if you have it on your phone, and is it a 300 feet radius on your phone? Is that what?
So there is a 300-foot radius bubble around the phone that's at a lower consciousness level than the main service. So right at 9 feet around the phone is 580 on the Hawkins map, kind of coming in. So the phone brings energy in because it's compensating for wherever the phone is located, right? You might be next to a transformer, you might be out on an airplane. So it's kind of doing its best by bringing energy in. The home service, the property service, is guaranteed because it's compensating for the geopathic stress and it's clearing the history of what was there. And it's more, it's stationary. So there's the ability to create a field and have it be stable. And they both do the EMF mitigation, both the phone and property service. And we have a lot of research now on the positive effect, the relief that people have felt from the symptoms.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So kind of like at your house, if people want to start hanging out all the time, maybe you're walking down the street with your phone and people are kind of walking with you.
That explains the Pied Piper all over.
Hey! I love this so much.
Oh, me too. Not only would like you to, if you're listening to this or watching this, to reach out to me, go and get the free trial, get the 2 weeks at your home and do the boost. If you're a meditator, do the boost right as you're going into it, because it will set you up for that meditation so nicely. That's exactly what happened to me. But then when you do that, reach out, let us know how you're feeling it, what you're feeling. I'm so not just curious about this, but I think everybody needs to do this. I think everybody needs to know about it. And can you imagine if everybody's walking around with a 600 consciousness level, how much nicer the world would be? I mean, I feel incredible right now.
Well, I was just thinking you have to make sure you're not like in a work meeting or something, because honestly, I just totally like zoned out and I was like sitting in the backseat of the car listening to y'all talk and just didn't even want to say anything. I'm like, say something. No, this is so nice. So you have to be in a situation where you can just relax.
Yeah, that's why the boost is 600. So it's quite a bit lower than 700, the longer boost. And then the 850 really is for meditation or for really centering yourself. But people use the 600 for kids doing homework, for after school. Energy's kind of low. They've been going all day. And that extra boost of energy, it really kind of helps smooth the transition through homework and into dinner and bed.
Well, and I invite everybody to go to your site and look at the research. We have a very limited amount of time to talk about this on the show, but there's so much you can dive into on your site that if you are pragmatic like me and you need to see studies and research and science behind what we're talking about, you can find it there. There's a lot there that you can dive into. We're going to add a direct link on our show notes. So if you go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to their episode page, you'll find a link directly there. All you need to do is hit it and you'll have access to everything, including the trial, everything you need to know. Jeffrey, Clayten.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. But it feels like it's not even sufficient to say thank you. What you're doing is unbelievable and so needed and so wonderful. And it just feels so selfless that it's just thank you doesn't seem to be enough. Not just for what you're doing, but for coming on the show and sharing this with us and with our audience.
You're welcome. I was sort of looking at your website the other day and I'm making a bunch of notes for the conversation. And one of the thoughts that came to me is that, have you ever considered just changing your podcast name to Metaphysicians instead of Skeptical Metaphysician? Because you're quite fun.
I love that.
You're quite fun and you're like nice people. And it's like, you're not really hardcore skeptical. You're kind of like, you're fun. So anyway, that's just a thought that I had. I thought I'd share it.
I love that.
We are so thrilled to have connected with you. Is there anything that you want to make sure that you get across to the folks listening or watching that we haven't touched on right now?
I'll mention that we all do our part in raising the consciousness of the planet. There's whatever we do, whatever our path is. And Clayten and I have brought the FLFE and the consciousness fields and also our way of doing business as a spiritual path. But part of the FLFE is a giving. It's not only for ourselves and our family, but it radiates throughout the world. And we also give, as part of a subscription, a pay it forward subscription that's free and it goes indefinitely that they can put anywhere in the world.
Wow.
So glad you mentioned that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself for not bringing it up, but it goes right along with what I said earlier about the fact that this is all about you paying it forward, helping humanity. It's incredible. Clayten, anything on your side that you want to make sure that you get across?
In many ways, business has a bad rap in the world. And in some ways, business has earned it. There's been a lot of negative things done in the name of profit. And if you take that same thought, you could say there's been a lot of negative things done in the name of just about everything. But business is a big influence in the world. And I just invite people to consider that business can be a spiritual path. You can still make a profit. You can do good in the world. You can pay people well. You can create a nice environment. You can create a good service. And in some ways, business has helped us all evolve because it's a very efficient way to distribute the resources of the world. And right now, there's a lot of conversations about different philosophies that are not in support of business. There's a lot of reminders of all the negative things that business is doing, especially in the environmental realm. We're not particularly religious. I consider myself a spiritual student, but our prayers with this technology was how do we distribute it this best in the world? And we only have so many personal resources. So we could build this technology and just give it away. And we have done lots of that. But at some point, if you want to share your gifts with the world, business could be the best avenue to do that. If you're fortunate enough to be wealthy enough to, have the income from dividends or whatever your model of financial freedom is, then you could just give it all away. But for us, business as a spiritual path was the way to steward this out to the world and share it with humanity. And I just want to thank you for helping us do that.
Oh, no, it is our pleasure. And to your point, as we transition from 3 to 5D, the world transitions, our thought process, what is successful transitions with it. We've noticed ourselves on the show, the more that we are in service to others, the more successful the show becomes. So if you change your mindset, to your point, change your mindset to help others, that abundance will come. If you're focused on profit, like unfortunately a lot of the country, a lot of the world is right now, you fall into the scarcity mindset, which then you have to work harder to get that abundance or that sense of, let's just say abundance. I can't think anymore. One question, can you leave this field on for
Well, we move out in April. Can you leave it on until April 30th?
You can just play a tape in the background.
Oh, put it on loop over.
You guys are full of hacks. This is perfect. I'm going to do that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You have to be,
Thank you guys very much.
You have to
Thank
be within
you.
the sound of the recording for it to work.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. So earbuds in and
No, surround sound. Surround sound.
Computer playing in the corner.
yeah. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We definitely are going to subscribe for sure.
Yes.
This has been incredible. I really appreciate your taking the time and explaining this to us because I needed to understand it. I knew it was incredible, but I didn't know how incredible it was until just now. So thank you so much for coming on, sharing this with us and sharing it with the world. And I know we're going to have a lot more conversation coming forward.
I look forward to it.
Thank you for all you do.
And a huge thank you to you. We know that there are tons of options out there, and having you decide to come along on our journey of discovery with us is an absolute honor for us. We'd love for you to contribute by sending us a voicemail or an email from our website, or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or any other podcasting platform that supports them. Karen and I love hearing from those that are moved to message us. It truly does fuel our passion. You are the reason we do this show, and knowing what you like and don't like help us craft the very best show we can so that we can help raise the vibration of the planet together. Well, that's all for now, but we'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysician. Until then, take care.